Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. Today we explore the ultimate game of hide and seek. We look at a trait so deeply buried in the human genome that we often forget it exists until the moment it saves our lives. It is the reason you think you see a face in the clouds or a ghost in the corner of your eye. It is the reason we are still here, and the reason why the most advanced cloaking technology in the galaxy is fundamentally flawed when faced with a human. The Syth-Kar were the undisputed masters of the unseen. They did not win wars with fleets or bombs. They won them with whispers and knives. Their active camouflage was a masterpiece of physics. It used a layer of programmable metamaterials that captured every photon of light hitting one side of their body and projected it perfectly out the other. To a camera they were a ghost. To a motion sensor they were a breeze. To an alien eye they were literally part of the background. They had infiltrated the most secure vaults in the quadrant, bypassed the most sensitive scanners, and assassinated kings in rooms filled with guards. They believed that if the light could not find you, nothing could. On the jungle moon of Creos, the Syth-Kar had a new target, the Human Central Intelligence Hub. This facility was the brain of the human colonial defense, buried deep within a mountain and guarded by the elite 4th Rangers. The Syth-Kar infiltrator, a veteran named Zul, moved through the perimeter with the confidence of a god. He walked past thermal cameras that saw nothing but cold air. He stepped over pressure plates that his gravity-nullifying boots rendered useless. He was a ripple in the wind, a shimmer in the humidity. Zul reached the final hallway leading to the core. At the end of the hall sat a single human sentry, Sergeant Old Eyes Miller. Miller was not looking at a high-tech visor. He wasn't checking a tablet. He was just sitting in a simple metal chair, leaning back, staring down the long, empty corridor with a cup of lukewarm coffee in his hand. Zul paused. He checked his cloak. It was running at 99% efficiency. The wall behind him was a complex pattern of gray industrial plating and red conduit pipes. His suit was perfectly replicating that pattern. To any logical mind, Zul was invisible. He began to move again, sliding along the wall with the silence of a shadow. But Miller didn't have a logical mind. He had a human mind. Humanity did not evolve on the open plains where you can see for miles. We evolved in the dappled sunlight of the forest and the tall, shifting grass of the savanna. For millions of years, our survival depended on one thing: pareidolia. This is the brain's obsessive need to find patterns in chaos. It is why we see faces in toasted bread and monsters in the dark. Our ancestors who couldn't see the slight break in the vertical lines of the tall grass, the break that meant a tiger was crouching there, didn't live long enough to become our ancestors. We are the descendants of the paranoid, the ones who saw the wrongness in the scenery. Miller's eyes didn't track Zul. His eyes were scanning the hallway in a rhythmic, ancient pattern. He wasn't looking for an alien, he was looking for a glitch. As Zul moved past a red conduit, the metamaterials in his suit had to update. It was a process that took less than a millisecond. To a computer, the change was instantaneous. To a human eye, it was a hiccup. A tiny, microscopic shimmer where the red line of the pipe didn't quite meet the red line on the other side. It was a break in the geometry of the room. Miller froze. He didn't reach for his gun yet. He didn't want to alert the intruder. He just watched that specific spot on the wall. He noticed that as the shimmer moved, the shadows on the floor didn't quite behave. Light was bending around Zul, but it was creating a dead zone behind him. A tiny, flickering area where the dust motes in the air weren't dancing. Something's wrong with the air, Miller thought. His lizard brain was already screaming. It was the same feeling a primitive human felt when the forest suddenly went silent. It was the feeling of being watched. Zul was now only 10 feet away. He prepared his poison needle, aiming for the gap in Miller's neck armor. He felt the cold triumph of a successful hunt. Then Miller moved. It wasn't a fast, panic-stricken flail. It was a precise, violent explosion of movement. Miller threw his coffee mug directly at the shimmer. The ceramic mug hit the invisible wall of Zul's chest and shattered. The brown liquid splashed across the active camouflage, creating a sudden, jagged outline of a humanoid figure. The metamaterials tried to compensate, trying to turn the brown coffee into gray wall plating, but it was too much data. The suit flickered, revealing the terrifying insectoid face of the Syth-Kar for a split second. Contact! Miller roared, his voice echoing through the hall. He didn't fire a laser. He knew the cloak might still deflect it. He lunged forward and grabbed the nothingness. His hands locked onto the physical mass of the alien. Zul was shocked. He had never been touched while cloaked. The psychological impact was devastating. He felt like a ghost being grabbed by a mortal. Zul tried to vibrate his way out of the grip, his 4 arms striking at Miller with blinding speed. But Miller didn't need to see the arms. He felt the tension in the alien's muscles. He felt the direction of the force. He used his own weight to pin the shimmer against the wall. "I see you, you little glitch," Miller growled, slamming his forehead into where the alien's face should be. The alarm klaxons began to wail. Other Rangers flooded into the hallway. They didn't have Miller's old eyes, but they had the splash of coffee to guide them. They tackled the invisible air, piling onto Zool until the sheer weight of 5 humans forced the alien's cloaking generator to overload and shut down. Zool lay on the floor, his beautiful multi-million credit suit now a smoking wreck of gray plastic. He looked up at Miller, his mandibles twitching in confusion. "How?" Zool hissed through his translator. "The sensors, the cameras, they saw nothing. I am a shadow. I am the void. How did you know I was there?" Miller wiped a splash of coffee from his cheek and sat back down in his metal chair. He picked up a shard of his broken mug and looked at it. "You weren't a shadow, pal," Miller said. "You were a smudge." The pipes didn't line up. The dust stopped moving. "And my brain? Well, my brain has been looking for tigers in the grass for a long, long time. You're just a very expensive tiger." The Syth-Kar High Command was stunned. They had spent centuries perfecting the art of invisibility, only to have it defeated by a man with a cup of coffee and a million-year-old instinct. They realized that their technology was designed to fool logic, but it could not fool intuition. The Galactic Council's new report on human visual recognition was a terrifying revelation for every stealth-based species. Advisory: do not assume that active camouflage provides total protection against human sentries. Humans possess a biological trait known as pattern recognition hypersensitivity. Their brains are hardwired to detect even the slightest deviation in their environment. They will see the shimmer in the air, the break in the shadows, and the wrongness of a repeating texture. They do not need to see you to know you are there, they only need to see that the world around you is not quite right. Against humans there is no such thing as invisible. Humanity had proven the ultimate evolutionary HFY truth. We are the ones who see the hidden. We are the ones who find the anomaly. And in a galaxy of ghosts, the human eye is the only thing that truly sees. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. Trust your gut. Something's moving in the corner. If you enjoyed this victory of human instinct over alien stealth, hit that like button. Comment below, have you ever sensed someone watching you before you saw them?